And welcome to the Stand Up and Shout Rock Show, coming to you live from the Salisbury Center Studios in Manassas, Virginia, on the Wylde Style Network, fueled by Monster Energy. I'm Kevin, here with my bud Wisk. What's up, man?
Man, it's a great day. I can't wait to get this show going.
It is a great day.
And we have light effects? Did that just happen? Was that an intentional light
Dramatic
effect?
strobe lighting.
Yes.
Yeah, I love that.
It didn't blind us, though. I've been in a great mood since Monday night.
Yes.
After seeing Greta Van Fleet. You know, we've been talking about great new rock bands and who's going to carry the rock mantle.
Yeah.
And that was just a great show.
Look at you, Kevin. Kevin, by the way, if you're listening, we did not know what Kevin was going to start talking about first. He just said I have to start talking about something. And you got the shirt on?
I do.
You're wearing the colors?
Yeah.
Yeah, so what was it then? Was it the crowd? Was it the band? Was it everything?
It was everything. I mean, really, the band was awesome.
Yeah.
You know, obviously, first time I've seen them live.
Yeah.
I know you've seen them before. They're out on their first headlining gig.
Yeah.
And they were just phenomenal. The stage presence was great.
Yeah.
You know, there were no backing tracks.
No.
So,
no.
You know, that was great.
Music.
It was live music. Young guys.
Yeah.
Very talented. And the crowd was young.
Yes.
You know, so when we go to shows,
yeah.
You know,
yeah,
being old guys like we are.
A little bit.
You know, it's us and generally older people. You got to make sure you're not
stepping on titties.
That is true too. But, you know, it was a very young crowd.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I know, right? And it was just it was a party crowd too. Like we talk about crowd engagement a lot, you know, as a crowd gets older, they can get a little bit more fickle, a little tougher, a little more set in their ways. Yep. And if they like the idea of a pit, you know, from back in the day, they might be not too engaged in it, you know, in this day and age. So
yep,
that crowd was feeling it. Monday night was a really good night. I'm with you, Kevin.
Yeah,
that was a fun show.
Just been in a great mood since that show.
Awesome, man. That's awesome.
And it's only going to get better tonight because we'll welcome into the Stand Up and Shout Rock Show, Mr. Jeff Brodnax.
Yeah.
Hey.
How's it going?
Everything's great, man.
So, are you a Greta Van Fleet fan?
I listened to a little bit of them, you know.
Yeah.
I think I'm a little too hardcore Zeppelin, you know.
I know. So, I think people maybe of our age, maybe a little bit older, you know, kind of want that, you know, and expect that out of that band.
Yeah, definitely.
You know, and so I feel for them that way, you know, coming up young, you know what I mean, and trying to find their way, trying to find their sound.
And it's a good thing that, like you said, these young kids are getting into the whole rock thing. You know, I love that.
Yeah,
you know, more power to them.
Absolutely.
You know? Hell yeah.
Yeah. All organic, all live.
Yeah.
You know. Yeah. Yeah. The way we want, the way that we remember it, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, and so we're very happy to have you on the show tonight. For those of you that are catching it, maybe aren't familiar with who you are, you know, you've got a new band out, Shock Mafia.
Yep.
But they may remember you from a few years back. You were sang with 24/7 Spyz, sang with Egypt, from, you know, stuff around the East Coast, this area. So we're excited to have you here in the studio and chatting with you.
Thank you.
Yeah. So Kevin's mentioned in your past, Jeff. I'm kind of curious. I've always known you as a front man. Mm-hmm. When I look and see like your social media and things that you have out now, advertising you and Shock Mafia, I see you also, you know, I've seen you playing bass. I've seen you with other instruments. Like how did, tell us how you got into it. How did you personally start? Were you first a vocalist that became an instrumentalist or the other way around?
You know, I actually started out on the drum kit.
Oh, okay.
That was my whole thing for years. You know, I was that crazy Neil Peart fan. I would go and see him in concert. I had binoculars so I could see everything he did, you know. So I was like a crazy drum. I played drums locally for a bunch of bands in Hampton Roads, a band called the Thin Lads, and I had my first band I played drums was called Venus. We were like a garage band, you know.
Sure.
We did all the covers, the Zeppelin and Rush. It was kind of fun.
Yeah. So it was rock. It was rock. Punk, it was just straight up the gut rock.
It was straight up the gut rock. But then the Thin Lads, I started getting more into like the more like punk new wave stuff, you know.
Yeah.
And that's when I started getting into singing. When I discovered Bad Brains and things like that.
Yeah.
It was a band that we used to play with, and they asked me if I wanted to sing, so I started singing.
Yeah.
First time I started singing, my leg was just like shaking.
Yeah.
Up front is different than being in the back. You know?
Yeah.
So the singing thing just took off from there, you know?
Okay.
Yeah.
Did that come about in a formal way? Did you have any vocal training, or did you just pick it up and run with it?
Nah, man, nothing. Even, you know, drums, everything. I just kind of just played.
Yeah.
Like still to this day.
Yeah.
I write all these songs, but I can't tell you what chords they are. It's just shapes to me, you know?
Sure.
It's just shapes. Guitar players are just like disturbed by it.
know a few that would be.
My guitar player, the guys in my band, and it's like, what the hell, man? What are you doing?
Yeah.
You know, it's just weird. It's really weird, you know? Yeah. So, you know.
And so I would assume, like, I can say that when I first heard your name, knew of you, was with 24/7 Spyz.
Yeah.
And a great album. I love the album Strength in Numbers. That's just a fantastic album. How did you make that jump then from Hampton Roads into 24/7 Spyz and kind of getting out there in a bigger way?
This is a good story because I had started my own band, a band called Funk Junkie. I was singing in this band, and we were playing locally around. There was a guy who did sound for all the clubs there, Mr. Carr. So every once in a while, he would hire me to go and help him set up his PA system. So one time we came to American University to set up a show, and the show was Egypt.
Oh, yeah.
So I started talking with those guys, and we became really good friends. And it was when Andy and Joe and Glenn were the only three members.
Okay.
Andy was the lead singer.
Yep.
So I would see him around all the time, just hanging out. So it was one time when 24/7 Spyz and Jane's Addiction were playing at the Boathouse in Norfolk.
Sure.
So that night, Andy and Joe were at the show. We were hanging out, drinking and everything. And Peter Floyd, the singer from Spyz, announced on stage that he was leaving the band.
Right.
And so Joe goes, dude, we played with those guys before. You got to try out. Give me a tape.
Yeah.
I'll send it to him.
Nice.
So Joe and Andy got me the job with 24/7 Spyz.
Wow.
So when Spyz broke up, Andy was singing, and we were like, come on.
Right.
This works. You come sing.
Right.
You know, so it worked out that way.
Sure. Yeah. I'm glad you put it up that way, because I didn't know that back end connection with Egypt, because I was kind of curious how you went from the Spyz then to Egypt also.
Yeah. So
another great album. Like I'm going to pump up your albums here. Soul Hammer is just another one that's like way high up for me. It's a fantastic album from the 90s. So like it's just a great 90s groove, and you know, of course. Stuff. Yeah. Do you feel like you get recognized more from 24/7 Spyz or from Egypt? Or even now, just solo, before we get to Shock Mafia, because we are going to get to Shock Mafia.
I don't know. That's kind of a hard question. I mean, you know, I don't know if I get recognized anymore. I'm not sure. I guess sometimes, people know 24/7 Spyz, and people know Egypt as well. Egypt was a pretty popular band. Of
course. Yeah. And I'm curious, because I feel like I have a regional bias towards that, being here in the DC area. You know, with 24/7 Spyz being out of New York, and then Egypt, I guess they're not really of this area, but I feel like I've seen them perform more in this area.
Yeah.
So, you know, I would guess that people would around this area in the DC area would associate you more with Egypt. Is that true of New York though? Is that the same in New York, or?
Yeah, Egypt wasn't really popular in New York so much. We were doing like the college scene, and we would go down south and here. I mean, we lived here. We had a house here in Northern Virginia, in Annandale. We had a band house, which was like, and Joe and Andy lived here for quite a while, but then they migrated to Charlottesville.
Right.
And we started going to rehearse out in Charlottesville. I was still living here in the band house, but they took off. But they were pretty much the staples in the DC, Northern Virginia area. You know, but now there's like, they call themselves Charlottesville, you know.
Right.
Yeah. So, but you know, I don't think I think people notice, you know, Spyz New York, Egypt, DC with me. Right. You know what I'm saying?
Right. So, yeah. I was kind of wondering that. I was curious if it'd be different in different areas.
Yeah. And I saw you when you were in 24/7 Spyz. You guys did a show down at Virginia Tech after you left. course.
Oh, at Tech. Oh my God.
Yeah, which is a great show. But then I never got to see you when you were with Egypt because after I graduated, got married, kids, had a lot of other stuff going on. So I remember Egypt also used to come to Tech prior to you joining the band.
Yeah, we did Tech a lot. Hell of a lot. Yeah. So fun days.
Yeah, right.
Tech was a crazy place, man. I think it was one of the craziest schools that I've ever experienced. You know? We actually played a frat party one time there. You know, we actually played in a frat house. This fraternity hired 24/7 spies to play inside of their fraternity house.
Sure.
It was just crazy. It's like, where do you get this kind of money, you know?
Right.
And actually that night I met my wife.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow. It was so, all right. What's that story?
Well, me and my wife, we, she's from Northern Virginia, and I was doing a show there, and we, met that night, kind of young.
Yeah.
Making out.
A fan of the band. She was a fan of the band.
Her and her friend used to come see the music, and
sure.
And she, I guess for about some years we were just friends.
Dude, you're being so nice, man. You were being so nice. Like I didn't mean to put that spotlight on you. Evidently, she's going to listen to this.
Probably.
Yeah.
So we were friends for years, and I had moved back to New York, and she was would come up and visit me, and she was with me through a lot of trying times in my life and stuff, and about 9 years now, we ended up getting married.
Oh, okay.
We were great
wow. All
we
right.
were great friends,
Yeah. That is a longevity story.
Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah. Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
That's a good story. Yeah, nice. So I got to ask you, there's a lot of, you brought up, I feel like every time we interview a band in here, you can't escape talking about Bad Brains. And Kevin, you're talking about, like Greta Van Fleet and younger bands coming up. We've had punk rock nights here, 15, 16-year-old kids that were far removed from the Bad Brains heyday and era. And you mentioned, you were a fan of them then also, coming into 24/7 Spyz. I also know that, you had a brief time, right, with Mackie Jason in 24/7 Spyz.
I did.
And the first time, like I'm thinking about you saying, like my legs shaking, first time singing. How is it to me? I mean, being a hyper fan of a band like that, performing with someone that you could have idolized, or been a strong influence, in your music path.
Well, 24/7 Spyz was the same thing as Bad Brains to me. It was like, oh my God, you know, and we'll get back to that. It's like, and Mackie, Mackie's a god on the drum kit. I mean, he was there for a minute.
Yeah.
I didn't actually do any shows with Mackie.
Oh, okay.
He was there with probably, I don't know, a month or two. We were rehearsing, but I guess things didn't work out with him and Jimmy, so we ended up getting Joel Matoza in California.
Sure.
We played all of this stuff. So Bad Brains, when I was growing up in Hampton Roads, at that time, it was like, I mean, I think we all sort of know the history of the South and stuff.
Right,
it was just kind of weird with the sort of race thing, you know?
Right.
And I was just this black kid who was just like, my first experience seeing a drum set was this kid, Bobby Westfall. He had like this, he let me come up, I would hear him playing when I was out in the park, and he let me come up in his room one day and check out his kit because I would hear him playing it. Yeah. And he had this big, like, cherry red kit. It was sparkly. Kiss posters on the wall, Zeppelin, Rush, and I was just like, ooh. After that, I was like gone. I ran home and told my dad, you got to give me a drum kit. He was just like, but he finally got me one, and he even let my band practice in the garage.
Yeah.
And I always got this thing for like a lot of the black kids, like, Jeff, why you playing that white boy music?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It was weird. It's
Yeah.
And when I saw Bad Brains,
and
Spyz, bands like that, it was like, it was cool to me. It gave me a good feeling because, I don't know if I want to say that I felt like I wasn't alone, but it just made me feel like, these brothers are like
Right.
kicking butt, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It might sound strange, but
no,
it was like inspiration to me, you know?
Of course. And that's why I was asking, was there like a significant amount of nerves for you personally with that, you know, like kind of stepping into, you know, not necessarily, I don't know if they were your heroes or idols, but you know what I mean?
Yeah, it was definitely a lot of nerves. I you know, the good thing was I practiced my ass off. So when I went to New York and stepped in the rehearsal room with those guys, I was ready.
Yeah.
Boom, boom, boom.
Yeah.
I watched their stage show and everything. I had a buddy of mine that let me use this like warehouse space, and I had mattresses in there and like bouncing off of them and singing at the same time.
Sure.
I started running just so I could have that wind of all the antics on the stage and singing at the same time, because it's a lot.
Yes.
I was like six pack, you know, just from that, you know.
Sure.
Yeah, you know.
Yeah.
But it was definitely nerves, you know. But then after a while, once you do a lot of shows and you get in that situation, you're just kind of like, I got this, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
And you know, it was cool. It was crazy because I went from just playing in a local band to like when I first got there, the rehearsal was at SIR. You know, Sting was rehearsing down the hallway.
Sure.
Mariah Carey.
Yeah.
And we went to another place, late nights. Here comes Keith Richards, late night. Like he would come in and start practicing at like 3:00 in the morning when we were leaving, you know. And it was just like, you know, we went straight to the tour bus. One of the first shows we did was at the Academy. It was 24/7 Spyz, Fishbone, Alice in Chains, Monster Magnet,
awesome,
LL Cool J, Corrosion of Conformity, all in one show.
Wow.
You know, and it was just, but you know, I adapted really easily because that's what I wanted to do. You know,
sure, yeah,
like I'm doing this,
right?
You know? So it was cool, you know. So.
Yeah, nice.
But the nerves are there, you know.
Of course,
I still get nervous today, you know.
Yeah.
I don't. If you're not human, if you don't.
Sure. Yeah.
Well, I'm interested, you know, sort of where your influences came from. You mentioned you were into a lot of the rock stuff, younger, and then Spyz and Bad Brains, you know, obviously kind of punk hardcore. When did they come in and start influencing you and what you wanted to do rather than, I mean, I would call it all rock anyway, but
yeah, it's all rock. Yeah. So I think about the time, maybe a little bit before I discovered Bad Brains. The thing is like I was in the area I was in Chesapeake, which was like, you know, Friday night was like everybody in the Burger King parking lot hanging out.
Yeah.
You know?
Yep.
And
that used to happen right up here on Mathis Avenue.
Yeah.
Strip, the Manassas Strip.
So right across the water, you know, 15 minutes. I never realized I went to Norfolk area, which was an area called Ghent, but it was like a college there, ODU. So it was like, it brought more people from different areas, you know, so it was a little more culture. There were these punk bands, new wave bands, rock bands, everything, all these nightclubs, King's Head Inn, you know, Fishbone was coming to play through, REM, all these bands were coming to play through. It was just like electric. I was like, oh my God, this is where I belong.
Right.
Because I wasn't doing that, you know?
Right.
And I ended up getting into like a lot of alternative bands at the time, you know, when all the rock guys were going, man, no way, this shit is taking over.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
So I started getting into them a little bit and stuff. And then I started finding like these, like I said, like Bad Brains, these bands that were rock and they had this alternative edge to them as well, you know?
Sure.
But I always still like my rock, you know?
Of course.
And I still do, you know?
Yep.
Hey, give me some Ryan James Dio, some AC/DC anytime, you know what I'm saying? Anytime, you know? I'm still, you know, rocking out the Black Sabbath like constantly.
Sure.
And then I got turned on to Soundgarden, man, when the early stuff like Flower EP and stuff, man. I was like, this stuff is nice, man, you know? It's all soulful.
Yes.
It's still heavy.
Yes.
It's taking a little different turn, you know, which is kind of cool, you know? I mean, I grew up in a household of like James Brown and Aretha Franklin, you know?
Right.
My parents, that's what I grew up hearing all the time, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
it to me it's, you know, James Brown and Black Sabbath sound the same to me.
Sure.
it's all so funky, especially the Sabbath stuff. It's just like, you know, it's got that space, and you know, everyth's. I was watching a James Brown documentary the other night, and he was saying all the instruments. He says to Maceo, he said, "What is that?" He says, "A drum." And he goes, "What is this?" Bass guitar. He said, "No, it's a drum." You know, he said everything is a drum. You know, so. Right. I feel all of that the same way. The soulfulness it's no different to be, you know. Sure. Whether it's soul or rock stuff. It's just if you got the soul, you got the soul. I mean, my dad, my 90-year-old dad, I let him hear Rival Sons. Yes. Which is one of my favorite bands right now. Yes, absolutely. That singer dude, that dude is like
another great young band that we've talked about.
His voice is just like, dude.
I know.
And I let my dad hear, my old dad who grew up listening to old soul and stuff from the South, and he's like, yeah, he kind of sound like James Brown to me. Yeah. And then I listened to it, like, he does have those inflections of James Brown in the tone, you know? Yeah. It's crazy.
I know.
And he dug it. He loved it.
Sure. Yeah. So, I mean, I'm hearing from a lot of the conversation that we're having, there's obviously like a lot of passion. I feel like that you have put into your music over your career, which has been, you know, a good long career. Yeah. And so we're getting into a little Shock Mafia now.
Yeah. Well, kind of leading into that, I had one other question. I was reading an article in Afropunk that they did with you, kind of bridging the Egypt time to some of the newer stuff you've been doing. And you talked a little bit about when Egypt kind of folded up, and you mentioned the G word as part of the reason why the band. Maybe talk a little bit, maybe I misread that, but talk about, you know, kind of how Egypt decided to call it quits.
The G word?
Grunge.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, I think that happened to a lot of bands, you know, after Kurt Cobain put out the first album, it just like blew everything out of the water. But it's a great record. It's great songs. Sure. But, you know, the labels, it's the labels, you know, they want to hear, you know, what they think is happening now. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
It was a little more difficult for us to like compete with the whole grunge thing. And we never had a label. Egypt, we had a indie label, but it was very small.
Sure.
We recorded those albums for us. But, you know, as far as like finances, keeping our vehicle on the road, it started breaking down, and then grunge was coming in. There was a lot of stuff, but it was just hard to, even with 24/7 Spyz, the label tried to get us to do, because I don't know if you listen to those albums, it's got like a mixture of like some jazz, some soul, some reggae
absolutely.
And stuff. But they were, Atlantic was going, hey, you guys, maybe you should just do like an all metal album, you know?
Which was hot at that time.
Yeah, but they, you know, I think Jimmy and Rick, who the originators of the band, their whole thing was like, you know, was mixing music, and they were like, nah, you know what I'm saying? So, you know, we're not going to do that. So,
I'm surprised by a little bit of that.
That's what I was going to say.
I would never, you know, like to me, and listening to Egypt, you know, prior to you being there, with you being there, that is one of the things I think that expanded my outlook on music. You know, I think we all kind of come from the same background, right? In the 70s and 80s, and hearing like rock and metal, like I came from that. But then you're right. Like I remember the first time I heard Soundgarden. I remember the first time I heard Jane's Addiction. I remember the first time I heard Egypt. You know, I remember going to the first Egypt show. First time I heard 24/7 Spyz. Like, there was so much different elements to that rock and roll, which made it great that I wouldn't have called that certainly when anything was happening in the 80s. You know,
well, and grunge, the Seattle sound that everyone wanted to have signed, the labels wanted to sign the bands wearing flannel and all of that stuff. Yeah. But there were a ton of other bands just like Egypt and Spyz that were still out there that really were, you know, prior to the grunge breakout, were being classified as alternative or college music in some cases, from, you know, because I worked at the tech radio station. So, you know, we were listening to Soundgarden there 4 or 5 years before, you know, all that broke. So,
broke out.
So to me, it was just very interesting that take, and because I would have thought Egypt and those
Fit right
bands.
in.
Yeah.
Like to me, it just fits right in. Yeah.
You would think that too. I mean, I mean, I could be wrong. You know what I'm saying? But the label, we never had any majors go, hey, we want you guys, and we were like pulling crowds, man. We were doing great, man. We, you would think like the label would want to take it,
right,
and develop it, but that's another thing too. It's just like the whole thing of labels taking a band and like growing them, because that's how it used to be.
Right.
They would take a band and they would develop it.
Right.
Now it's like, they want you to have your album made. They want you to have a certain amount of
subscribers
fans,
and
everything, man.
Yes.
It's no more development,
Right.
So,
right.
and but it's fine, I'm not, being like grunge, because I love that stuff, bro. Come on, I love the Nirvana album. I love Mudhoney and
right.
all that stuff is good stuff, man.
Sure.
But things happen the way they happen, and I learned my lesson about music and stuff. So now I just like, I don't chase the dragon anymore. I play music because I love it, and I'm much happier that way.
Right.
I feel it more, you know what I'm saying?
Sure.
And I can do what I want, and I can experiment the way I want. I can just be a weirdo on stage or writing or anything.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been writing, I got some stuff you guys should check out as well. It's called the Salvation Society. It's just like a little EP that I did with a bass player and a drummer. It's totally like R&B stuff, I'm playing guitar on it, and and it's totally different. And then I did in between Egypt and this band. I was still in New York, and I was playing the subways. I did the subways for 7 years.
Okay.
New York City. It's videos out there. I ended up going to Korea. This company called Under New York came in the subway and asked me if I wanted to go to Korea and play the subways in South Korea. So they flew me and a couple other musicians over, and we were there for like 2 months. They put me up in a 4-star hotel for like 2 months. I stayed in the hotel, and we do these like shows on stages in the Korean subway,
Right.
And their subways were like clean. They were like mini malls compared to the rats in New York.
It's not the New York subway.
So then after that, I ended up, I came back. I was playing the subway again. French guy approached me. He was starting a small indie label, so he signed me to it. I was going to France back and forth, like, for 4 years. He'd fly me over, give me his place to stay in Paris. So I just be in Paris. I do like just acoustic, me and acoustic guitar, and the French loved it, man. Cause I at that time I had went through some real bad shit in New York with my ex-roommate, Nick, rest in peace.
Yeah.
And I went into this dark place, and I just started playing like all this really like slow, angelic stuff. I got an album out about it too. You should check it out. But and the French people, they love this whole thing. I play these shows over there, and I mean, God, they were so quiet. It was scary.
Wow.
You could hear a pin drop, man.
Yeah.
I walked down the stage, and it's like, because here it's like everybody's drinking beer. It's like glasses clinging, and some chick like screaming, and they were like, they want to know what's in your soul.
Right.
They really want to know, and it's just like, me with my acoustic guitar. It was kind of cool. So I got to experience all that stuff.
Absolutely.
So maybe that wouldn't have happened if grunge would have come in.
I love it. I love it. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but then I got to the point, I was like, I got to rock some more, man. this acoustic stuff is lonely.
Yeah. So talk about Shock Mafia.
Yeah.
Okay, Shock Mafia, man, is it's a guy named Gus Lozano. He used to be in a speed metal band called Medusa that used to play around the area. Gus is a great guitar player. And then the other guitar player is John Duran's. And I've been knowing these guys for years, years and years, just playing around the scene. And John, big hockey fan, and I used to see him playing videos. He's like a Eddie Van Halen head, let me tell you. I mean, he can play every Van Halen song there is, like note for note. But so I was hanging out with Gus, just jamming with him over in Springfield, and I was I'm seeing John on video one time, and I was just like, I should start a band with these guys. These guys are really good. So I talked to him. We started getting this whole thing together. I had a whole bunch of songs written already, you know.
Okay.
And we ended up getting this cat, the drummer, Sammy Sosa. I don't know if you know Sammy Sosa, but he's really good, really great drummer, but we just didn't work out.
Okay.
Love Sammy, and we had this guy Ace, playing bass. Same thing with him. So we had, before COVID, we had booked some studio time at North, 38 North, and the whole COVID thing went on and on. So we never got in the studio. With them, by the time we were ready to go, we really didn't have a full band. It was just the three of us, and we were trying people out, really didn't work out and stuff. And so we got really frustrated, and we thought, like, well, what happens if we lose our money or something? Because we had a deposit down. So I'm just like, I got my buddy that played on the Salvation Society stuff with me. He played bass on it, and I was just like, okay, I haven't really been playing drums, you know, the past 10, 15 years. Yeah. So I said, I'm just going to practice this one song, get it really tight, and I just went in and laid down the tracks.
And that was Reaching for Sunshine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I had this guy, we hired this guy, Patrick Thornton, who's a great bass player, to play on it. And, but I would have loved to have him to play, but he's just so busy, man. He's like, he plays with that Bruce Springsteen tribute band, and he's like a wanted man on the bass, but he's really good. Yeah. And I didn't really want to use anybody else from Egypt. I hope they're not mad at me. So I didn't really Andy, because I didn't want it to look like Egypt.
Yeah, right,
Egypt,
right.
Other Egypt things. So
right.
But then we ended up still trying to find a drummer. We tried a couple guys. They were pissed at me because I was just like, nah, you know.
Yeah.
You know, for me, it's like, I'm not so concerned about like chop so much.
Right.
You got to have that groove, man.
Chemistry.
Just that groove, man, that pocket, man. The drummer holds the whole band together, you know what I'm saying? You know, you got to have that soul, man, you know. You see a lot of cats that's like, they can go, you know, but, you know, give me like you know, you listen to like James Brown drummer, man. That dude's like in the pocket. Right. Crazy. It's just like, but anyway, so we ended up, last try, we ended up talking to Jimmy from Jimmy's Chicken Shack. The other Jimmy.
No, you're right.
So he came out to rehearsal, and it worked out great. Still didn't have a bass player.
Yeah.
So we ended up finding this kid named Brian Say, who's kind of, I wouldn't say he's fresh. He's just kind of more laid back, kind of shy. Yeah. But he's got groove. He's just one of those guys that's got it. He's just got it, you know. Yeah. So that's the lineup now. Brian Say.
All right.
Jimmy, Gus, and John.
Yeah.
But the band's been together for a while.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm hearing. Like you're saying before COVID. I mean, that was a little while ago now.
Yeah, but it's been a struggle trying to get up and rolling, you know.
Right.
But I'm determined, you know.
Yeah.
I think our songs are great. I love the songs. They're a bit different, you know what I'm saying? You know?
And we can find Reaching for Sunshine. We're finding that, to me, if you got any streaming service, you're going to find that out there.
Yeah, it's on all the streaming services,
Yeah, so when's the rest of it going to, you know, kind of emerge?
Well, you know, we've been talking recently, we want to get out and start doing some gigs.
Yeah.
And just, even if it's just some opening gigs.
Yep.
We're not trying to be, this whole thing is, everybody's got their lives. You know, I'm married. Gus is married. Jimmy's taking care of his mom, and you know, everybody's got their thing. We're not, like I was talking about, chasing the dragon and not going, oh, we're gonna be rock stars, you know. Right. But I feel like it's just happy that way. Yeah. Because even before you start to realize, wait a minute, dragons are not real. Right. You know. So I'm going back to those days when you would just in the garage and just jamming hard, man, and you didn't care. Yeah. You're not like wondering if you know, some executive is going to like it or things like that. Yeah. If you like it, it's great. Yeah. If you don't like it, that's cool. I'm really happy playing music now. Of course. I'm on stage even at rehearsal. Yeah. Even when I'm at rehearsal, I'm jumping around the room. I'm like, yeah, I'm getting down, you know. And that's the way it should be, you know. Like the days when you were in the mirror with a brush, you know?
Yeah.
You didn't care. You were just getting down, you know?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
get back to that feeling, you know? Because after a while, you lose that feeling, you know?
Sure.
It's easy to lose that feeling because you get so hammered with, you know, trying to please someone else, you know?
Right.
And I think if you relaxed and in that way and just not giving a damn, I think it's going to shine to the audience and everyone else, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
Sure.
I think like half of these guys that are big rock stars, they don't give a damn.
Right.
Screw you, record label. We're going to do some drugs.
And the backing
Like
tracks.
this.
Throw out the backing tracks.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Get up there, lip sync it out, and then right.
Cash a check.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So, where can people find out what Shock Mafia is up to? I know you have a Facebook page. I've seen your Facebook page.
Well, Shock Mafia's got a Facebook page as well, and you can get all the information on that. We don't have an actual website. I don't think anybody has websites that much anymore.
Right. Yeah.
Because there's Facebook and stuff like that.
Right.
But you know, yeah, I think for right now, just go on to our Facebook page, Shock Mafia, and you know, if you go on my page, it's a bunch of links there and stuff, and you can buy the song if you like on Spotify, Bandcamp, it's on all the platforms, you know. So
I was gonna, you know, so you heard us talking to Jimmy Davies, Jimmy Haha, Jimmy's Chicken Shack, you know.
Love that guy.
Yeah, right. And so like we were talking to him about releasing music, you know, with his latest release and his album, which he just selected to place only on Bandcamp.
Yeah, I watched that and I heard that.
Yeah. What do you think about that approach? I mean, you have Reaching for Sunshine out in streaming services, so I don't know if you're necessarily taking that approach. You may, I don't know, but like that strategy, like, do you have any thoughts or feelings or preferences towards that for you or for Shock Mafia?
Well, I see it like this. Now with digital, it's like getting music. When you had to go buy a CD or album, you had to physically go to the store and you had to pay a certain amount of money for it. But now with streaming, it's like music is like water.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You can just use that stream over and over again. So I like Bandcamp.
Yeah.
Much better than all the other places, just like Jimmy, but it's not going to hurt me to have, you know, it on the streaming sites.
Right.
I'm not angry at them.
Right.
Because like I said, I'm not in that game anymore.
Right.
I'm really not in that game no more.
Right.
You know?
Right.
So if I can put it out there and somebody buys it, great. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But at least it's there, it's here, it's there, and it's in Bandcamp. You know, I try to push people towards Bandcamp because we get more of the money. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Yeah.
You get a lot more money with Bandcamp. So
Right.
When I put it on my Facebook, it's usually Bandcamp. I never do Apple or Spotify, anything.
Right.
You know?
Right. Yeah.
But it's great if people can go and listen to it or whatever. You know.
Right.
You know, because I just don't think people either are just like, you know, are going to search out for Bandcamp either, you know.
Sure.
You'd be surprised how many people don't know about it.
No, yeah.
People just
absolutely.
kind of
Right.
just do what they're told.
Right.
And what's popular.
Right.
Spotify, Apple Music, that's what they're doing.
Sure.
You know? This is what they're doing.
Right.
I mean, I don't know Jimmy's whole purpose of that whole
Right.
thing.
Right.
You know, you got some people like, you know, what's the name, Taylor Swift, like fighting.
Right.
She's making all this money, though.
Yeah.
She can do that.
I know. I wonder, like, you know, I don't know how you feel about this, but when you bought the CD or you bought the LP, I think people that still buy vinyl get this. You know, I buy vinyl still, yeah. Yeah, you get the experience with the album, right? Like you really fall in love with the album. You know, you're not just randomly shuffling. And I felt like I heard that from Jimmy, that he wanted people to appreciate the album. Are you finding that like, you know, I mean that.
No, yeah, I totally understand. Yeah, I totally get everything Jimmy's saying. I would love for people to just like, you know, take my album and read the credits,
the liner notes,
and look at the art and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? But you know, guys at our level, you know, it's it's a little hard to fuss.
Yeah.
And like I said, I'm through fussing. I'm not chasing dragons are not real, man. You know? So, you know, it's like, if it's out there, it's good, you know? It didn't cost me anything, really, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it pays for itself. I get the streams pay for the
recording
annual, the fee that you got to pay every month for like a TuneCore to put it on all these platforms, you know?
Sure.
So it's a no-brainer for me, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
You know.
Right.
Yeah, and besides, I only got one song out.
Yeah.
Well, and it certainly seems like with the technology and digital now, if you're trying, like you said, if you want to get it out there and have more people be able to get to it,
yeah.
You kind of have to do that.
You kind of have to, yeah.
But I totally get it too, because I've read several articles, even some really not the big, you know, multi-million-dollar bands, but bands that are making a good living. They're touring, they're releasing albums on a regular basis. They're probably, a couple of them are signed to record deals.
Yeah.
But they talked about, you know, because of streaming, they're basically getting nothing because, you know, so I get that too. Right.
Yeah.
But I go back to the whole water thing.
Yeah.
About how streaming is just, it's like water.
Right.
You know, maybe I'd be a little more pissed off if I was having to put out money to get CDs printed and stuff like that, or vinyl printed.
Right.
But like I said, it cost me $14 a year.
Right. Right.
To put that stuff up there.
Right.
And, you know, it's paying for itself, and people are at least hearing it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
It's going on, it's people streaming it.
Sure.
Because, you know, it may not be a lot, but at least somebody's hearing it. I don't think anybody will hear it if I don't have it on these platforms. Believe me, I'm pissed off that you see like how much it takes to, like, you know, earn $100, how many streams you got to get.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I am, but I'm not that mad about it. Like I said, I think I'm like having a really good time now. Yeah. Playing just at rehearsal.
Yeah. So I all of this joy, everything, like, you know, and how much I feel like you love playing what you're playing, everything that you're playing, all your original stuff, not even your new stuff, maybe your older stuff, but anything that you're doing, you have a good longevity. You know, when I hear Reaching for Sunshine, I don't hear too much difference from your vocal tones and strength in numbers. You know, like, and that's amazing to me. What do you think is the secret? Like your passion? Like, how do you, in other words, have you sustained your ability to sing at your level and play at your level? Like, it's to me very impressive.
First thing is tuning down a half step.
I love it.
Everybody does it now.
There are people that I would love to hear that message, and I'm gonna record that clip and play it back.
That one's going on TikTok.
I did a lot of singing, man.
Yeah.
Over the years, and like every night, in Egypt was like even more. We played more than I did with Spyz, man. It's like we played constantly. And then singing in the subway. I was singing in the subway for 4 hours, man.
Yeah.
I swear, I kid you not, man.
Yeah, yeah.
And so, you know, it works on you and stuff, and I'm fine with that, you know.
Yeah.
But I still, you know, the passion is still there.
Sure.
I love singing, and I think better than I like playing drums, actually.
Okay, I was going to ask you. Yeah.
So, you know, it's cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Cool. All right. So I'm still excited for new Shock Mafia music. I'm also excited for Shock Mafia shows. So like, you got to keep us in the loop.
Me too, man.
Yeah. You got to let us know when this is going to happen.
Well, yeah, that's what we're working on now. We're trying to, that's the thing too, is, man, it's like the venue thing.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
It's like, you know, it's not a whole lot of, it seems, I mean, maybe I'm wrong. It doesn't seem like it's a whole lot of venues to play now. You know what I'm saying? Or just you can jump into, you know?
Yeah.
So I'm doing my thing here. I'm going to check out Jam and Java and some places like that. And
sure.
But I've been out of it for so long, you know, with like booking the gig, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
So.
I think we know someone that might be able to help you.
I'm not. But see, the thing is, we want to like sort of bring back that whole thing of like a whole bunch of bands.
Yeah.
sort of thing, you know?
Right. Almost like the local palooza
Like
that happened
rock
up here a month
shows.
ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bringing that back when everybody now is just like, yo, I want to get a gig. I want to make all the money.
Right.
You know?
Right.
All of us got good jobs. We got lives. So we're not even concerned about the money, man.
Right.
You
Right.
know, give us $500. We'll be less than that. We'll go play. We just want to play, dude.
Right. Right.
Like I said, that feeling. Let's rock.
There is a right, and there's a thrash metal band from this area, Age of Ruin, and I feel like that's really kind of their approach too. Like they've really gotten really excited about some punk and hardcore nights here where they're booking multiple acts and just getting people who love music to come out and see the music.
Yeah. I think people will come once they see it happening. You know?
Absolutely.
Like I was saying, like it's like you saw a long time ago. You see that all the time, man.
Yeah.
You know, like I said, it was normal. The show I was talking about with Spyz, we did at the Academy with all that stuff. You know, all different types of bands too, man.
Sure.
We're playing one gig, man. We did a show with it was a band, Disposable Heroes of Hip Hop.
Yeah, absolutely. Became Spearhead.
Yeah.
Yeah, huh? Yeah.
24/7 Spyz, Disposable Heroes. Michael Frente.
Yeah.
What's the guys? Digital Underground.
Oh, okay, really? Really?
And Public Enemy on the tour together.
Oh my God.
What? And this rock stuff and this
That
rap
is a
thing.
slick show.
All in one show, man. All the way through California, man. You just don't see that much anymore, you know? Unless it's a festival.
The Disposable Heroes, I've not heard that name in a long time.
They were great, man.
I know. I'm gonna have to go back and listen to that album now.
They had all these it was really industrial in a way because it was this one guy was like beating on metal with chains and like a grinder. It was like flames and sparks.
Yeah. Yeah.
Man. Yeah. Those were when people were just like, okay, we could put all these bands together.
Yeah.
And people are going to come out and see it, you know?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Cool.
So,
cool.
I'm trying to bring it back, man. All right. Rock and roll and
right.
Yeah. You know.
That's obviously this is an event venue, so we're trying to bring that back, right? Live music both here in the venue and what we're talking about on this show. We want to talk about bands and music and live shows and keeping it alive.
Yeah, that's it, man. Yeah. I think we can, dude.
Yeah, absolutely.
We're going to do it, the three of us, okay?
All right.
Well, I'll definitely say, like, Jeff, I mean, I'm getting the sense that this is not our last conversation. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like this is going to be, some future conversation, and I'm looking forward to, where Shock Mafia is going and everything that's going to happen with it.
Well, once we get going, I'll try to get the rest of those guys in here.
Love it.
Absolutely.
Love
it. Hang out.
That'd be
absolutely.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Cool. Definitely.
Yeah. And, like I said, keep us up to date. We'll let people know. We'll help, send out the message because, like I said, I love that single. I love Reaching for Sunshine. I've been listening.
Thank you, man.
Listening to it quite a bit.
Thank you very
So I'm
much.
looking forward to more.
Yep. And if you haven't checked it out, it's on the streaming services and a lot of your other music is up on your Bandcamp site. So definitely go check out Shock Mafia and Jeff Brodnax.
Yeah.
Right.
Thanks for stopping by.
Yeah, man. This was great. This was
Good
fun.
chat.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, we'll do it again.
Yeah. All right.
And we'll be right back on the Stand Up and Shout Rock Show.